We are here, folks. We're at the big one. Yes, the big one. Halloween Resurrection. Let's talk about it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we're at the big one, folks. We're at Halloween Resurrection. And I was thinking, I watched this again last night. My feelings have not changed about it. I do have some positive things to say. This isn't a complete dumpster fire like some of the other. Halloween's my favorite horror franchise. Let's get out of the way. So I'm always partial to Halloween. I love Friday the 13th as well. I like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Leatherface, although Leatherface has had a tougher time in his sequels than these other franchises. But all the franchises have their shit show moments. And honestly, in the Halloween franchise, we've been pretty lucky. Even our worst sequels, 5 and this one, compared to Freddy's Dead and Jason Takes Manhattan, Seed of Chucky, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, we've been pretty lucky. We've been spoiled. Even our worst sequels are better than their dumpster fires, for sure. But let's talk about this one. Now, in 1998, we had a Halloween H2O. Jamie Lee Curtis wanted to do that film, and to do that film, they made her sign a contract where they had an option to bring her back for another sequel. But she was hoping H2O was it, and she cuts off Michael Myers' head at the end, and we see her stand there with the axe. Michael's head is on the ground. The Halloween theme soars, and credits. Awesome way to end the series, or at least her character arc. And then I could see them rebooting it after that. But no, Dimensions had other plans instead of Mustafa Akkad. And Dimensions, their fingerprints are all over this dumpster fire of a film. Again, watching it, there are some positive things. I'm going to go over that first, and I'm going to probably shit on it for a little bit. But anyway, so they got the brainstorm. Halloween H2O was a huge hit, so Dimensions won another film, so did Mustafa Akkad. Didn't want to keep Michael Myers dead. Well, I found out that right after they got done filming H2O, they filmed that piece of the paramedic finding Myers just so they had that in their pocket to make the next film. Which, what the hell? I can't believe they planned that far ahead. And we'll get into the explanation of how Michael Myers survived, which is one of the dumbest, well, not quite the dumbest. Freddy was resurrected by dog's piss, so let's not get crazy here. But it's still pretty stupid. So they brought Jamie Lee Curtis back to play Laurie Strode, but she said, the only way I really want to come back is if you kill me off, because I don't want to play this character ever again, which is kind of funny considering she came back for Halloween 2018, which is a much better film than this one. So Jamie Lee Curtis came back for the first 10 minutes of this film, and we fast forward, it's 2001, it's 3 years later after the events of H2O, and Jamie Lee Curtis is in the mental institution, and she hasn't spoken a word since she's gotten there. And little do they know, she's been making trips up to the roof. They even reference it, the nurses talk about how she's been caught in the roof several times. And here she's been planning for Michael to show up so she can finally kill her monster, which she thought she did in H2O, which we come to find out from an exposition dump by the nurses that the guy she beheaded at the end of H2O was actually a paramedic, because yes, a brainstorm, a rocket scientist of a paramedic went into the building by himself, started checking out Michael Myers. Michael Myers got up, crushed his larynx, had enough time to switch clothing, put the paramedic's clothes on, and walked outside with a knife with cops and a lot of people around. Nobody said shit to him. He walks into the woods and he gets scot-free. She ends up killing this father of 3, and she can't deal with it, hence she's in the psych ward. Dumb as hell, but that's the bullshit beginning and the retconning we've done to get over the hump of she killed Michael at the end of H2O. The reasoning behind this is one of the major shit show of moments in this film. The explanation makes no goddamn sense at all, but that's the least of our worries as we go through this film. So Michael shows up, kills the 2 dumbest security guards at a mental institution, kills them in the basement, which is actually a pretty nicely done scene, even though the guards are dumb as hell. He makes his way up to Laurie's room. He starts stabbing the bed thinking she's sleeping. She hits him on the head with a lamp and goes up to the roof where she has a trap set. She gets him in the trap, and she's about to stab him with his own knife, and then he grabs his mask like at the end of H2O, the guy does, and she pauses and wants to take the mask off to make sure, which, holy shit, this guy just tried to chase you with a knife. I don't think he's there to collect for the Red Cross. But she goes to grab his mask. He grabs her to go over the ledge. He grabs the top of the roof line, stabs Laurie Strode unceremoniously. She falls, which looks like about 5 feet because the way they shot it looks like shit. Laurie's dead. And now we're on to the main crux of our film. Now, the opening scene Rick Ross, when I first heard they were going to make this film, the only thing that gave me hope was they brought back Rick Rosenthal to direct this film, and he directed one of the best sequels of the Halloween franchise, Halloween 2. Although we'll get into that later, because I have a feeling, well, we'll get into that a little bit. Rick Rosenthal does okay here, but it doesn't look nowhere near as good or well shot as Halloween 2. But we'll talk about that as we go along. Now we're introduced to these college kids, very bland characters. It's not the actor's fault. The script isn't the greatest, let's be honest here. The dialogue they're given to say is not anything groundbreaking, and it's just a basic story of these college kids who apply to get onto this internet show that's going to go on Halloween night, ran by Busta Rhymes' character Freddy and Tyra Banks' girlfriend. Yes, Busta Rhymes is in this movie, and boy, holy shit. But, so they win, these three friends win, and they're going to spend the night in the Michael Myers house, which you thought by now would have been torn down, but nope, it's still standing. And basically, to fast forward a little bit over some awfulness, they get to the house, Halloween, the evening going into Halloween. Michael's back at the house, and we'll find out where he's been living, because we find that during this little shit show. And Freddy has rigged the house with all these cameras. This actually was a groundbreaking concept at the time, and back in 2001, 2002, honestly. We hadn't had really any found footage films yet. Now there's a ton of them, and a lot of them are not very good, but back then this was brand new territory. So I have to give him credit for taking a chance on doing something a little different, like a haunted house with Michael Myers in it. The problem is, if you're a Halloween fan, the Myers house is not that big. So these 6 people go into the house, and they're supposed to be locked in there all night and exploring the house while they're televising live. Now, it wouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to look through the whole damn house and see that Michael is still there, because he is around. Now, they do a nice job keeping him in the shadows. So I'll give him that. Some of the lighting, when the regular cameras are on, not the shitty video cameras they're using, digital cameras back then, but it's best they had back then, I guess. 2002 is a blur, but whatever. They start exploring, and Michael's stalking them and starts killing people. And some of the kills are pretty good. I'll give them that, and they're not afraid to show the blood in this film. So on that level, I give them props. There's some interesting kills, and the characters are not the greatest again. I mean, the final girl, Sarah's fine, but she's not given a whole ton to do except for be in peril and talk to this young kid on her, I can't remember what those are called, where you would send people messages before everybody had a cell phone, you were texting everybody. I can't remember what those are called. That doesn't matter. This movie's not that good to even worry about. And here's what and then we go through they start going through the house, and they start getting killed off one by one in pretty good ways. And then we get to Freddy is going to set them all up by dressing like Michael Myers and sneaking through the house and scaring them, because he wants to get the views at home some pizzazz. Here we get into some negatives right now. Now, what's the one cardinal rule you never want to do to your monster, the main star of the film, which is the monster, Michael Myers? You don't want to make fun of him. Well, they must have not got the memo when they made this film, because we see a Michael Myers walking slowly through this room, and we think it's Michael Myers, and all of a sudden we see another Michael Myers. And when I first saw it in the theaters, I'm like, what the hell? And we come to find out Freddy's dressed as Michael Myers. He turns around and sees the real Michael Myers behind him, but he doesn't know. He thinks it's one of his lackeys, and he starts berating him, putting his finger in his face and telling him to go out back and help Tyra Banks' character. That's your job, and all this shit. And Michael just stands there and takes it and walks away. It's like, now, again, this scene doesn't work on multiple levels because Busta Rhymes is awful in this film. His line delivery's shit. Like I said, I like LL Cool J and H2O, and I like him in most films. I think he's really good. This is just one of those things where rapper turned actor. I'm sure this was a focus group decision. Oh, we find out that if you put a rapper in a film, it can increase our box office take, which it didn't. This film made a lot less, well, considerably less than H2O. It made some money, but we'll get into that. And that's the number one time where they criticize Michael Myers. And as we go along, we're down to our final characters. Okay, Sarah and Freddy are the only 2 left. And then we get the infamous karate scene where Freddy decides to kung fu Michael Myers' ass like this is a Bruce Lee film. And it comes off as ridiculous. It doesn't work. He kicks him out a window. Michael gets hung. So that's number 2 when they're making fun of Michael Myers. And then finally, Michael stabs Freddy in the shoulder twice. And we think Freddy's out. And now it's Sarah left. She's in the garage. Michael comes in. The place catches on fire. And then we get Sarah's big moment with a chainsaw, which she's given some god-awful dialogue, and it's cheesy as hell. It still comes off like shit. Last night watching, I'm like, my God, this is awful. And then once again, Busta Rhymes gets to come in and say the famous line, "Trick or treat, motherfucker." And then as he attaches an electrical cable to Michael Myers' package and blasts him back into wires and he gets caught up and burned, they get out. And as the one final FU to Michael Myers, they're carting him out in a body bag. And they stop to look at him, Sarah and Freddy. And Freddy decides to make some fried chicken jokes at Michael Myers as they're carting him away. If you've never seen it, I shit you not, it's amazing. When I saw this film in the theaters, I'm like, and then I bought it on DVD and watched it again. I'm like, this movie kind of sucks. It really does. And that's the end of the film. Michael Myers wakes up at the end in the morgue, scares the shit out of morgue attendant, and that's it. We assumed they were going to make a sequel, which they didn't. They rebooted the Halloween franchise in 2007 Rob Zombie's movie, which is, I don't mind Rob Zombie's remake. This makes Rob Zombie's remake look even better. Okay, it makes it look like almost Shakespearean. Now, besides some of the nice lighting, there's some nicely lit shots. The cinematography is not bad. There's some cool kills. The actors aren't, I mean, Katie Sackhoff, who I normally love in everything, is kind of annoying here, but it's just the character she's playing. It's not her fault. She's not given much to do but be the goofy friend who acts over the top in every scene. Rick Rosenthal, they brought him back, which gave me hope, but unfortunately, I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary on Halloween 2. Rick Rosenthal made the film, shot the film. Carpenter viewed it and realized it was very pedestrian. So he went back and shot the gore scenes and some extra scenes for the film and cut those in. Now, the one thing Rick Rosenthal had going for him on Halloween 2 was he had Dean Cundey shooting it. So that movie's nicely lit, beautifully shot. But Carpenter went back and did shoot extra footage and a lot of gore footage add-ons into the movie, because at the time Friday the 13th could come out, so everybody's expecting more blood, more gore, so Carpenter felt pressured into giving the fans what they wanted, considering the marketplace. Watching Resurrection again, I think Carpenter might have directed more scenes than we're led to believe on that film, because Rick Rosenthal does an okay job, but he drops the ball in many scenes, many scenes. It's okay. It's some nice lighting, there's some nice camera movements, but overall, this is not one of our better directed sequels. As a matter of fact, doing some research, they actually approached Dwight Little from Halloween Part 4 about coming back, which would have been a better choice, but I think there was too many factors. I'm sure Dimensions executives, the Weinsteins and that, probably forced Busta Rhymes into the film, and all this bullshit dialogue and all this karate chop bullshit. I'm sure that had a lot to do with the dumpster fire this movie became. Now, the Michael Myers mask in this film, which is always a contention, it's a little bit better than Halloween H2O, but definitely not. When it's brightly lit, the mask looks terrible. Again, it doesn't look as awful as H2O, but it's not great. When it's in the darkness and in the blue light, it looks fine. It is. And the guy who plays Brad Lorry, who plays Michael Myers in this, is a serviceable Michael Myers. I think he's a step up from Chris Turan in H2O, in my opinion. Although he's not as good as George Wilbur or Dick Warlock or Nick Castle, but he's definitely a step up than from the previous film. So I'll give him that. There was 4 different endings filmed for this film, and obviously they went with the one where Michael's in the morgue and wakes up, but you can see the other 4 on the Blu-ray or the DVD, whatever you own. And other than that, I think that's it. But yes, this movie is not very good, but it's still better than some of the shitty sequels from the other franchises. I would give Halloween Resurrection a 4.5 out of 10. There's some fun things in there. You can still sit down and have a good time with it, although I think this is one of those movies where the kills are decent, the characters aren't the worst, but they're very bland, honestly. And after Jamie Lee Curtis gets killed, it's almost like, who gives a shit? It's an interesting concept. I just don't think it was pulled off the best. So at the end of the day, this movie is kind of like a big steaming pile of dog shit. Although not quite the big steaming pile as Freddy's Dead or Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. So there's always that. I've come to the realization that even some of the worst Halloween sequels are not quite as bad as some of the other series. I will say that as a lifelong Halloween fan. So yes, 4.5 out of 10 for Halloween Resurrection. What are your thoughts on this sequel? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Do you like this sequel? Where does it rank? You know, do you think this is one of the worst ones? Leave a comment down below. I'd appreciate hearing from you. Even if you like it, I could be wrong. You might like it. I just don't like it that much. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I greatly appreciate it. I'll be back later in a week with another movie review. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye. Hey everyone, this is a little add-on video to my review for Halloween Resurrection. There was 2 things I really wanted to mention that I didn't in my review, now rewatching it before I post this. First one was the budget for this film was $13 million, and upon release that summer, it got released in July of 2002. It made, which is a terrible time to release a Halloween film, but that's what they did. It made $30 million in the U.S. and worldwide and U.S. it made 37 total. So this movie wasn't the huge hit H2O was, that, and it got terrible reviews. That's why in 2007 I rebooted it with Rob Zombie's Halloween, which I will do Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2 next year for Halloween season. The other thing that really bugged me about this film is all the tunnels, these elaborate sewer tunnels underneath the Myers house, and Myers was living down there for how long? Makes no sense and is dumb as hell. But that's why the original title was Halloween Homecoming, because that's his home, and he's back home. But he's been living there for how long? But yeah, that's all I wanted to put is those couple things on to the end of this review. I hope everyone's doing well out there. I'll be back soon with another review. Thanks. Bye.